Yeah, is it a bit strange coming back after?
It's nice coming back. But it is very different. I mean, the carpets are different, and the house is very much different. When I was here, it was lived in. Here, it's got more the feel of a museum now, and that's probably quite natural, because I'm not quite sure what was intended when the house was gifted to what was then Perth Corporation, I suppose. Other than the house should be preserved, and that I believe that access to Willie's room, or as it was referred to, the poet's room, should be given when people wanted it.
Yes.
And that certainly happened when I was here. You get people phoning, especially during the summer. You get people phoning fairly regularly, I mean, certainly more than once a month, you would get people phoning and saying, I'm visiting Perth and I'd like to come and see the room, and they would come and stand here and ask a few questions, and then just go.
So when were you writer-in-residence?
I was here for I came here in 1996. I came here in September 1996. Probably at the end, I think it was the end of September 1996, and I left in the summer of 2000 and probably, no I didn't. I was here for 4 years, so I left in 2000, at the end of 2000. Yeah, it's about September 2000. Brian would come in September 2000, and I think I left here in the August.
Right.
Yeah.
When you first came here, did you have an idea of what it was that you wanted to do? Yes,
it was specifically mentioned at the interview that the centenary would be in 1998, and there were ideas that hadn't been developed at all. They were no more than an idea. I think the phrase that was used would be something, we have to do something, we wanted to do something. And Mike Moyer wanted to do an exhibition. He was quite clear about that. He wanted an exhibition, and he asked me if I could put the exhibition together. And I did, rather hurriedly, I have to say. It was done fairly quickly, given the fact that a lot of time had to be actually spent physically gathering the material together and physically putting it on the boards, as well as designing the boards, laying it out and all that sort of thing, which I didn't really have very much to do with. A woman whose name I've forgotten, but who lived in Broughty Ferry, did that, and it involved me making quite a lot of journeys between here and Edinburgh to go into the National Library, to look at the Soutar correspondence, and B, what was there, And in the end, what we decided to do was to present an exhibition that would introduce Willie Soutar to people who might not know him, and that was what we did.
And that's what it. And those boards remained standing here in the house until just a few months ago, so that's quite a number of years. It
is a while, yeah.
Yes.
They
stood the test of time, for sure.
That's good.
And they were a talking point. I came in here many times, and there would be people who didn't, as you say, didn't know anything about Soutar, and there was all the basic information.
Yeah.
It was a great introduction.
Good. There was other thing that happened when we'd got towards the just coming towards the end, that once people found out that this was happening, and once people found out that we were doing this, and we had these boards were going to be there, and there was a kind of physicality to it, they came up with all sorts of other bits and pieces and other information that, for example, I wasn't always able to use, but we were working on them almost right up until the last minute. The boards were finished well on time. They were delivered to the library, and I remember there was a difficulty in fitting them onto the stands, you know.
Right,
You know,
yes.
that kind of
Practical
detail.
problems,
Yeah,
yes.
which I took little to do
You
with
would have
that,
needed
of course.
John Soutar with you at that point.
That's right.
And there was an event, and he described a week of activities.
There was a fair amount of activity that was there. We felt that we had to kind of have the house more or less available for people, and so I was here from the exhibition opened in the library, and and there was a good coverage. There was a fair press coverage of it. I seem to remember. I remember being interviewed, for example, for Radio Scotland. It might have been a television interview. I can't remember. I think there was actually, but you know, there was that kind of there was a fair coverage. People knew about it, and the exhibition was there for certainly stayed up for a month or two anyway, and for the period around the 20th of April, I think it fell awkward. It was like the middle of the week, Tuesday or something. And so therefore, what happened was for about 10 days, I had to, and especially at the weekend, that was said that the house would be open, you know, for visitors from, I think it was 10 till 4. And so obviously I had to be here. And you would get a fair number of people coming, particularly the weekends. It covered 2 weekends, I think. I couldn't have covered. I don't know, but anyway, I think it did actually. Yeah, I think it finished on a Saturday. Yeah, so there was. It did cover it. I'm sure it did. Yeah. So there was a lot of activity around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was that. There was also a number of other things that took place. There was, for example, the ASLS ran a conference. The conference ran in Perth, and they decided to that conference would be about Alexander Scott and Willie Soutar. And both, you know, collectively and individually.
Yes.
So that took place. And then when they arrived, when they came, there must have been upwards of about 50 or more people came through the house.